Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 69 of the PE Geek Podcast. And as always, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. Now, super excited to launch into what are quickly becoming my favorite episodes. And those are where it's got nothing to do with me. It's all about the people that I'm interviewing. And today's no exception, as I've certainly handpicked a phys ed superstar, none other than Justin, all the way from where?
Springfield, New Jersey. Little old Springfield, New Jersey.
Awesome, man. What do you do? Like you're teaching phys ed, and what sort of grades?
I teach phys ed preschool to sixth grade, so ages 3 to 13. And they also have me co-teaching a couple technology classes this year. So I am co-teaching fourth grade technology as well. So I get to use a little bit of everything these days.
So it's like a nice little mashup there of like your interests and combining them. I bet you that sort of enhanced the phys ed as well. Would I be right in saying that?
Oh, absolutely. And it's cool because working so closely with the computer teacher, now we've been able to plan a couple cross-curricular projects, and I'm able to have my fourth graders in the lab and start a project there and do some editing of videos in there where I wouldn't want to waste my phys ed movement time.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you're in computer class, that's what it is. It's tech. So there it's hitting the standards, and I get the best of both worlds.
For sure. Now, you and I met each other for the first time. It seems like a long time ago now, back in July of 2015 at the National PE Institute. Great event. I think we both would sort of say that about it. But there's something that I remember quite fondly of how you left that event. And do you mind sharing what you did? That
Sure.
I think it's going to become a thing. This could become like a regular sort of thing that happens at the event.
I hope it does. So we roll up, Nick Enlick, Adam Laveau, and I. We roll up, and we had quite the hectic ride, leaving Nick's house at midnight, getting there at, I don't even know, 10 in the morning. And one of the first things when we roll up, I noticed that there's these PE Institute signs, but they looked sort of like a kindergartner might have made them, maybe a first grader. So it struck me as rather funny that we have what I consider the greatest gathering of phys ed teachers by far that I've ever been around. I'm sure some other people have been to some different conferences with more superstars from all over the world, but it was, for me, by far the biggest conference I ever went to. And we're looking at these signs that were handmade, and it was just funny. It struck me as amusing. So every day I would tell Nick and Adam, I'm going to take one of those. And when we left, sure enough, I took one, and then we documented it on Twitter every time we stopped. Nick and I stopped on the way home. We took it with us. We were in the supermarket whenever we got gas. It was quite amusing, something to keep us alive, because the energy, we were so stoked after that. It was probably the greatest conference I will ever be at.
Yeah, man. I think it's sort of, I was following the journey of the sign as well via social media, and it became this big thing. Everyone talking about it, connecting about it, and it's sort of a real testament to the conference and testament to the online, connection that people have. So where did that begin for you? Like, where did you get connected? Where did you start this journey of online and so forth?
Sure. I remember vividly my superintendent, Edith Conroy, was talking about how she was at a school and they were doing a mystery Skype. She didn't really know what it was called at the time, but telling me how, and this classroom was guessing where the other classroom was. And I was like, all right, I could do that. That doesn't sound too difficult. So I looked into it, found Education Skype. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up hooking up with a guy named Nick Gordon out of the UK, Wales specifically.
Yeah.
And we did a mystery Skype. I had the links and everything. And from there, things blew up. So I could give full credit to her and Nick Gordon, because Nick is, we're doing stuff, and he made an iMovie, and his was fantastic, and, showing the mystery Skype. And then I made an iMovie, and it looked like the first iMovie somebody had ever made. So it was quite interesting. But we were talking afterwards, and he goes, you got to get on Twitter. And Nah, I thought just what most people think when you think of Twitter, celebrities talking about what they're wearing, who's eating what for dinner at what restaurant, and just thought it was a huge waste of time, to be honest. And Nick set me straight. He goes, dude, got to get on there. There's a ton of physical educators and links and resources, and I go, all right, got on it, and ever since then, I've hit the ground running.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think you're probably one of the most active people in the space. Constantly pushing out content, constantly being part of the conversation. I think you're, really powerful in that. Sometimes say what other people are thinking, but don't say. I think that would be one of your strengths as well.
Yeah, the old foot and mouth trick. Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I think you definitely are pushing out some really good stuff. And I mean, every week you push out a blog post. Do you want to tell us about that?
Sure. So the blog is slowchatpe.wordpress.com. And we always hear about blogging. Growing up, writing was all right, but I saw that there was a need for a phys ed Twitter gathering. Joey, at the time I came in, Joey Fife had kind of stopped with his chats. There wasn't much phys ed action that was organized. And when I started Twitter and got on outside of phys ed and looked at different education things, there was a SlowChat called SlowChat Ed. And these were probably the most brilliant educators I had come across up to that time. I mean, it was one question a day, Monday through Friday, and they were talking about things and going in depth with ways I had never even heard talked about before. So I was intrigued, got to know some of the people, still talked to a couple of them. Ross LeBrun was one of them. And then I got the idea, well, hey, if they have SlowChat Ed, I could do SlowChat Phys Ed. That way I'm not tied to an hour a week. You don't have to schedule anything. Obviously, everyone has different lives from either time zones or busy with different family constraints. So question a day, you show up whenever you want. You answer the question if you want. If you don't want to answer the question, that's fine. It's just super relaxed.
Yeah.
So it seems to work.
Yeah, it definitely has. And I mean, it seems like there's some really good themes that come from it that then drive projects, collaborative projects, and, even more thought around it. So yeah, well done. So, I mean, technology obviously is at the heart of all of this. Have you always been somewhat intrigued by tech, or is it just sort of, did it happen with that initial moment?
No, my tech was always video games. Yeah. I was I was a gamer. I loved gaming. I would rather play sports and play activities and get sweaty. But when I wasn't doing that in college and even growing up when I was young, starting with Nintendo, and I just loved video games. And then when computers came out, I enjoyed computers. I messed many a computer up trying to figure something out. To be honest, I don't know a ton about technology. I know what works for me and what I like. And if it's easy to use and without too much hassle, I'll try to implement it. But I don't know too much. I don't know coding. I have kind of piecemealed my way through adding things to a computer, switching out hard drives, but usually with the help of a buddy who knows much more than I do, and YouTube. So I love tech. I think it's great, but I don't think I'm very good at it, to be honest.
I think that's really like testament to how powerful it can be. Like when used by people like yourselves, smart people, it can be completely out of the way. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be this thing that you have to be also knowledgeable about. So the good tech should do that. I think you'd agree that it should get out of the way so that you can focus in on the important things. So when you are using it, what do you think makes tech work for you? Does it have to help student learning? Is it all about teacher efficiency? I mean, what do you value in that sort of equation?
Well, for me, I'm all about relationships, forming bonds with different people. Doesn't matter where I'm at, what I'm doing. I'll talk to the person in the grocery stores in line behind me. So for me, I like tech increasing that, making my relationship stronger. And as a phys ed teacher, we're always, I don't know about but I'm always worried about the stigma. Do I just roll out the ball? Are parents thinking this? So really, I wanted to get into sportfolios and show the parents this is what I'm doing in class. I have standards. I have outcomes that I'm teaching. We're not just playing games. So how can I allow my stakeholders to really see that? And that's where I think the strength of my use of tech comes in, with allowing people into my classroom, and that whether they're stakeholders or fellow phys ed people or admin from around the world, anyone can get a glimpse of my class. All they need to do is ask.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, documenting it is a pretty cool thing. And now I know you're fond of a couple of portfolio tools in particular. Did you want to mention what they were?
Sure. I mean, I'll talk about my bread and butter this year is SeeSaw.
Yeah.
I mean, SeeSaw could be the most versatile app I've ever come across. It does pretty much everything I want all at one time. So the basis of it's a portfolio app. You take videos or pictures, you put it in. It's under the kid's name. You can do it all as a class, so everyone can see it, or you can do it individually, and that's cool. But that's not enough. I wanted parents to see growth. So what's really cool about SeeSaw, you send a link home to the parent through email, say, hey, sign up for SeeSaw, and then they can choose the way they want to get alerted, whether it's through the app or email or whatever it is. And then I show them their kid beforehand, with the younger kids specifically, beforehand, how they are, what they're doing, and then after. So, kind of like the baseline of the pretest and the summative. And that really, for me, is hammering home how much growth their child has in my class.
Yeah.
So that's just one, the initial part that makes it cool.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, is there a take up of SeeSaw and collecting evidence amongst everyone in your school, or is it something that's sort of happening just for you in isolation at the moment?
It's me and the music teachers caught on to it a little bit as well. So in SeeSaw, you can make folders, and the music teachers made a folder and has some of the kids putting videos in there as well.
Yeah.
So it can be cross collaborative, with other ones. I don't have many teachers that are willing to go the extra mile with that, because we always have 4 billion things on our plate.
Yeah, I mean, have you found that it's been really good for looking back and then being able to assess correctly because you've got some evidence to back up your own judgments and those sorts of things?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
By far, it's all there. It's completely objective. Completely. It's there. This is your child. My older kids will videotape themselves, or a partner will videotape them doing whatever standard outcome that we're talking about after we've practiced and done what we need to, and they have to basically prove to me that they've mastered the standard. Mm-hmm. Here's the standard. This is what I expect. A lot of times I'll let them choose the way they want to do it.
Yeah.
So they can do a tutorial, they could demonstrate it, they could do all different ways, and then it's all right there. So if a parent comes in and says, well, my child as a 2, they're progressing towards the standard. Why? Well, here's the videos. This is what I was looking for. This is what they gave me. This is what they showed. They're working towards the standard, or they've mastered the standard, or whatever the conversation has to be.
Yeah, so you've got like real world evidence to back up things, because we're often guilty of this subjective, I'm the expert, this is my opinion, but really, sometimes we need a bit more than that, which is, I guess, what SeeSaw is so powerful for. So, in and amongst that journey, is there any other things that you've become really fond of? Obviously, you've got the portfolio thing. Is there any other bread and butter tools that you use on a day-to-day basis?
Well, Adam got me all about the Team Shake app, and that's really cool for me because, yeah, of course, he loves that thing. Because the biggest part, besides the ease, I never had problems making teams. I know my kids. I don't have that many. It's not that difficult to know their skill level and break them up, make it even for whatever I want, or skew it to one side or the other, however I want. What really bothered me was when I would tell kids to get in groups and we weren't doing games, and I just wanted them to practice some skill or another, or whatever the activity was. And a lot of my special ed kids weren't getting chosen, or they were choosing each other, and you could kind of tell, like, certain kids would run to each other, then the last couple would kind of be walking around with this kind of lost look of, nobody wants me as their partner on my team, and that really has got to make you feel like garbage. So the Team Shake eliminates all that. I don't have to worry about it, and the kids for the most part, are pretty cool with it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a pretty useful tool, like you said. If you want, you can get Ninja and make it sort of so that the teams are in your favor or in another way, or you can have kids who don't want to work, who don't work well together. It's a pretty useful little tool. So in and amongst that, I know you mentioned your early iMovie that you designed. I'm not saying that's a failure or anything, but have you ever had failures in the tech and PE space that you've gone to try something, you thought, oh, what's happened?
Oh, sure. I'll tell you, for one of the biggest ones is trying to use the Google Drive and Google Classroom with iPads.
Okay, yeah.
Apple and Google do not get along very well. It should be much more seamless, and it's not. It's a pain in the butt when you're talking about because they're signing in and then they're signing in as the Chrome first user, and then my next class is coming in, and it doesn't work very well. So that was a problem there. The other one was SeeSaw at the time doesn't have Chrome. You can't take videos on ChromeBooks, so you had to use iPads, that kind of stuff. But one of the biggest things I had was a little bit of a pushback against using ChromeBooks in my class for assessment, because I love using Padlet, and my oldest kids really do not like using Padlet as an exit ticket or even formative, like when they're off during an activity. If I'll shoot out a question, they did not like it. So I had one, we talked and I said, listen, that's fine. If you don't want to use it, bring pencil and paper. We could do it the old fashioned way. I have no problem with that. And they actually preferred that. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty important point, isn't it? Like being willing to adapt and try things and get the feedback from a student voice and model it. I think it'd be a foolhardy teacher who just continued down that path of doing something that they thought was just being innovative, but the students didn't really respond to it. So I think there's a big lesson there.
Yeah, all about being the critical consumer. I mean, just because it works for other people, it's not necessarily going to work for my population.
And completely.
I'm pretty in tune with the kids. I mean, kids are pretty easy to read. I'm at elementary school, so they pretty much just tell you, oh, we're going to technology class. Like, it's 3 minutes on a Chromebook giving me an exit ticket. Like, really, is it that big of a deal? But if it is to them, I'm willing to change. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned Chromebooks. Are they something that the school rolled out, or is there a combination of those and other things?
Yeah, we have. We're 1-to-1 with Chromebooks from 3rd grade and up, so I have them bring them down every class, although I don't use them every class. Yeah. And we have a floating iPad cart for 3rd grade and up, and most teachers don't even use it. It actually sits in my office like 80% of the time, and I house it there. So I actually just moved it out the other day, but so that's sitting there. So I do have a ton of access to tech, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of make a pretty interesting point about, you've got this floating cart, but it sits mostly in your space. It is a shared tool. I'm assuming other teachers could use it, but they don't. And I think it comes back to that whole idea that, just because you give and hand out tech doesn't necessarily mean or translate into people being better teachers. I think you'd agree with that also, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. And the way we rolled out our tech wasn't the best either. I mean, the teachers rolled in last year from summer break, and ta-da! Here's an iPad cart or a Chromebook cart in your class. That's it. There was no training. They didn't even know that the iPad cart had to be plugged, or the Chromebook cart had to be plugged in.
Yeah.
It was a steep learning curve, and the policy wasn't exactly take the Chromebooks home, which I don't understand. I mean, if you want a teacher using the tech, give the tech to the teachers. I don't care if you're shopping on Amazon with it. You're using it. You're learning it. You're figuring it out.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Now, it's a common occurrence, you roll out these, programs and not necessarily provide the most important piece of that, which is training. And, most people completely miss any of the benefit of that rollout because of the lacking piece. The LA example, I knew how they rolled out millions of iPads to districts and forgot some pretty important pieces there, would be a big example of this in action. So what do you think works well? I mean, what makes a teacher use tech well versus someone who doesn't? Is there something do you think that makes it happen?
The teacher's got to know the kids.
Yeah.
That's it. You have to really understand your kids. And when you use the tech, I mean, you're the one who told me this. If it doesn't make it easier, increase engagement or increase learning, why are you using it? Yeah. So that's part of it. You have to look at what your outcome is. Like, what do you want to gain from it? Is tech going to help you? I'm not one of those people that believes tech has to be in every lesson, especially in phys ed. It does not have to be. Mm-hmm. So you have to look at it, and see, is it really going to benefit your teaching? And a lot of it is teachers have to start taking the onus on themselves. I mean, nowadays, there's no reason why you should claim ignorance of anything. You can YouTube anything you want. You can learn anything you want anytime in your basement, in your underwear. I don't understand why people are saying, I don't know this. What do you mean you don't know? Everything you could ever wish to know is on the internet. All you have to do is search it. And I think that's a skill that our students have that some of our teachers don't have.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. Completely agree with that, with that whole idea of being able to access things that, whenever you need sort of idea. And, I always look at the concept of, people saying that they're digitally illiterate. And I equate that to, people tend to celebrate that. They might say, oh, no, I'm digitally illiterate. Have you heard that sort of thing before?
Yeah, I have. And to me, it just sounds like you're being lazy, to be honest. You don't value it. You don't want to put the time in.
For sure. It's definitely a value thing. But, I mean, I just imagine if someone said, I'm illiterate, would people celebrate that? They honestly wouldn't. Like, that would be a cause of embarrassment. But, I honestly believe that it's probably just the same to say that you're digitally illiterate. In today's day and age, I don't think it's something you should strive for. You should be doing the opposite.
Yeah, and it all goes back to growth mindset. I mean, I know it's a buzzword and it's an overused concept, and I get it. But if you are trying to get better at your craft every day, every month, every year, there's no way you could get better without understanding tech. I'll put it this way. Technology is a major way in which you can get better at things.
Yeah, for sure. And I just like the idea that, if you're a teacher and you're modeling constant learning, then you're pretty much modeling what the students are doing. And, there's only one thing I despise, and that is teachers that think they know it all and that they don't need to try new things and they don't need to change and adapt or at least experiment. And I think that's the key characteristic that makes you and many other people successful, in that they're willing to have a go.
Yeah, I mean, we interviewed Don Wettrick one time, and he had a really funny quote about that. He said, his dad said, Don, I don't care if you teach for 30 years. Just don't teach the same thing 30 times.
I think you're spot on there. Perfect way to finish the show, Justin. So where can people find out more about what you're doing online?
Sure, they could find me at Schleider Justin, Schleider Justin. You can hear me on the Voxcast. There's the podcast that we put out, trying to interview people in and out of phys ed, trying to see what we can learn from people who are much smarter than myself, which is really good. And you can catch me on Voxer, same name, Schleider Justin, and VoxerPE.com is a good place to get started there.
Perfect, man. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day, because I'm sure there's a million other things that you could be doing, but you're here today and you've shared some absolute value bombs about tech and as a general sort of, advice for people getting started and sort of pursuing, that growth mindset. So I really appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, I'm very excited to have been interviewed by the PE Geek, the man who's done it all and who continues to forge ahead. So thank you very much for the opportunity to be here, and hopefully somebody listens and likes a little bit of what I said.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I really appreciate it. So we'll speak soon.
All right. Have a good one, sir.
Later, man.